Afternoon, welcome back to the studio. Welcome back, Joe.
Hello, thank you for having me back. Well, having me back, but thank you everybody for tuning in. It's been a long time since we've been here, but we're finally back and we are looking forward to bringing you this once again each week.
Yeah, and we've got a range of topics which obviously with the changing times is subject to change, so we won't announce them.
Of course.
But we're coming back with a bit of a difficult subject.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably should line this up with the fact that all of us will probably know that we've just come out of a period of national mourning.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
So the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth saw all of us going into that period. And then obviously the funeral was a huge occasion, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, when the Queen passed away, I was on holiday. And even the reaction there was crazy. You know, everything kind of stopped still for a day almost when it happened. And obviously, again, you know, the funeral was massive. You saw the amount of people going to visit. You know.
Yeah, they're queuing up for days.
Yeah, queuing up, and that was crazy. Just watching that all over the news and seeing, you know, basically how everything just stopped still.
A big deal, and I think it's strange, really, because we're talking about somebody who was 96.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, it's still kind of like a big impact, isn't it? It's a big kind of shock.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see, you know, to know what she done for so many people.
Yeah.
You know, the Queen for me, obviously being a bit younger, I guess maybe I don't understand how long she was almost, you know, basically our representative of a country for the whole time. You know, I mean, it was 70 years.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, it's crazy to see, you know, some of the people's connection to her. I mean, my mum, for one, she had a real, like, quite deep connection with the Queen. Mm. That obviously, you know, she never met her, but it's just, I don't know, that connection.
Everybody had in common, really. You know, love or you know, disagree with the royal family. Mm-hmm. Being in the UK, it's something that we all had in common, isn't it?
Of course,
that we all had this monarchy.
Yeah.
And of course, we have a monarchy. We've got King Charles the Third, which is brilliant. So we're not going to spend the whole time talking about the royal family, but I think really coming back and having come out of that, it's good to acknowledge that has happened.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, today we're going to be talking about bereavement and you know, the grief that you have from that. And personally, myself, you know, I've been quite lucky that I haven't experienced too much grief or loss within my family, especially. I've been quite lucky in that sense. But it's something that so many people have to deal with, you know, every single day.
Yeah, and bereavement is like the loss of somebody through death, specifically. But you mentioned grief as well, and there's loss. Grief and loss are kind of, they're more broader. Mm-hmm. So somebody who has lost their job, you know, especially if they really liked their job or it was something they'd had for a long time, being made redundant, the breakdown of a relationship, and also sometimes or being made homeless. They're all very big, difficult things to go through. And people can go through a sense of grief and loss, which is very similar. Not the same, but similar. No.
But there's loads of different, you know, that's what I mean, you've just listed off a couple there. There's loads of different ways, you know, you can experience loss and grief. So it's important to recognise all of those, and also if there is anyone that you know that might be going through them, to support them as best you can.
Yeah, definitely. So if, you know, we probably should say, if anything that we're talking about is affecting you, and you do need to talk to somebody, the live streams team are here, aren't they?
Of course, yeah.
You've got Colin and Bernard and Cornelia and lots of others who are willing to, I mean, we are as well.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you know, obviously Colin and Bernard, you know, and Cornelia all, you know, ordained and part of the church, but you know, we're all here to have that conversation if you need it. You know, we've got a coffee house at St. Peter's, you know, we're always here as well, here at St. Sed. So if there is anything you ever want to discuss, you know, feel free to contact us, and we're happy to.
So there's no universal way that people are going to grieve, because everybody's different, and some of the factors could be your personality, various different types of people and different types of personality, your background, your culture, your sense of resilience. Like you said, if you've not experienced a bereavement before, I mean, you could argue that it may hit you harder if that happens, because you haven't experienced it. And I think what some specialists would say is that as a child, if you give them a pet, obviously a shorter lifespan, they will, on a very small level, experience a loss, which is difficult.
Yeah, of course.
And I know parents that will go out and buy another similar looking hamster, and replace it, and this hamster's lived forever.
Yeah.
But you know, that small loss kind of makes them stronger in the long run. It's not always the way though, you know, losing people doesn't always make people stronger.
No.
Because we're all different. With some people, they might like to avoid it for a while, immerse themselves in work or busyness. Other people, they might like to retreat away from others for a while. I can't say anything, one's a good way or one's a bad way. I think everybody's going to be different. But what I would say is if you did those things, only those things for too long, it's going to have a bad impact on you.
Yeah, I think everyone bereaves in different ways, don't they? You know, I've obviously had, you know, friends, family that have gone through bereavement. And it's hard to navigate. Either way, whichever way you go about it, it's difficult to get through. So, no, you've got to let people kind of go through it their own way.
Yeah. So somebody who withdraws, in the short term, it may be that they just need some time on, you know, to gather their thoughts, come to terms with the loss. In the long term, though, withdrawing from your social world is going to have a bigger impact on your recovery. And what I haven't said actually is all these things, losing somebody has died, or losing your job, or being made homeless, all these losses, they're a trauma.
Of course.
And we all kind of, like, we're emotional beings and we need help sometimes to get through this. You will find some people a heck of a lot more resilient than others. Yeah,
of course. Again, everyone experiences bereavement and loss or grief in loads of different ways. And it's important just to give that person time, you know, to get through whatever they're going through, the best way that they feel like they can deal with it. And obviously, if you feel like you need to intervene, you need to give, you know, try and support them in a way. You know, that's fine. You know, it shows that you do care for that person and you want to make sure they're okay. But I guess usually that person does know what's best for them. But, you know, bereavement is, and, you know, any kind of loss is so difficult to go through. So it's, you know, it's normal for people to, you know, to be in that position, maybe slight depression, maybe anxiety or stuff like that. It's normal for people to go through that.
It is, but I think having people who understand grief and loss a little bit more can sometimes help, can't they?
Of course, yeah.
Because especially if you've not had it before, if you've not lost someone or had a big loss or a big change in your life, you may not know how to navigate it. You may not know if your reactions are, I dare say, normal, you know. How long it's going to take for you to recover, or, you know, what some people say is they never go back to the same life. Their life has changed.
Yeah.
But some experiences, and I think it's important to talk about this because it's so hard to talk about death and loss. You know, we don't want to think about our lives as being limited. We don't want to think about it. It's a little bit depressing.
Yeah, it is.
But it is a big fact of life, isn't it?
It is. I mean, again, for me, myself, you know, bereavement, I mean, I've gone through different kinds of loss, you know, different kinds of grief and things like that. Bereavement itself, I've been very lucky not to experience too harshly. In a way, I haven't lost anyone too close to myself. But it's something I think we've all gone through at one stage or another. Like, you know, like you said, losing a pet. You know, I've lost a pet before.
Yeah.
I've lost, you know, extended parts of my family that maybe I don't see on a day-to-day basis. But it's something that affects everybody around us, and you see that effect on people. And it's, yeah, again, obviously it's just important being there for them as best you can. You know, it's such a hard thing to get through, you know, any kind of loss, and you know, just always being for, you know, friends or family as much as you can is the most important thing.
You might want to share some of your experiences. If you would like to, do get in contact with us.
Of course.
We're happy to hear them. What I would say is there's almost like a group of experiences that seem to be very common, that people go through. Some of them can be like the feeling of anger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're angry at the world, or you're
Yeah.
angry at the person who has died, or who has left, or who you see has caused you to go through this.
Maybe you're even angry at God.
Well,
That
yeah,
is
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
a thing. I think, you know, you feel like maybe he's taken somebody away from you.
yeah.
You know, it's again, that's something that's very hard to navigate. It's definitely something that I've tried to navigate at points where I've been angry at God. I don't know, just for me, just personally, the way I look at it is I try and think that God does everything for a reason. You know, anything that we ever go through in life is for a certain reason, that he's either maybe trying to make us more resilient, trying to make us kind of, I don't know, it's hard to really explain, but it feels, you know, and obviously at the time you kind of think about it and you're thinking, why, you know, why has this happened? Why have I lost this person? Why have I lost this job? Why, you know, what's going on? But I think there's always a reason for it. That's the way I kind of look at it in that sense.
Well, if there's a reason, there's always a knock-on effect.
Of course.
You know, there's always a change that happens. Like I said, it can be positive and negative.
Mm-hmm.
It can make you stronger, or you could struggle for a long time with it. I do know people, unfortunately, who have lost their partner and not being able to get over it because you can't prepare for these things.
No, you can't.
You can't at all. I think another thing that people say often is when somebody close to them has died, it feels like for them the world has stopped. But the world continues.
Yeah.
Everybody seems ultra busy and just gets on with it, and they're in this kind of strange stunned space where for them the world has stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a difficult thing to navigate on its own, because, you know, when you lose someone that maybe is so close to you, yeah, everything does stop still for yourself. But maybe for other people, obviously, who aren't as close with that person, they have to just they carry on with their daily lives, and it's a weird feeling.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that, again, you know, it's something that we all have to kind of navigate through when we do lose someone that close to us. You know, it's normal to have that period of mourning, you know, where you do kind of not shut off, but you do kind of slow down, and you are a bit, you know, it's understandable to be a bit stunned. But it's important to know that although, you know, that is a big loss that you've experienced, you know, life will go on.
Yeah. Which you may get to on your own, or you may need the support of others, friends, family, and maybe even professionals around you. Another thing that people have said is that going through big emotional things, big traumas, it can make you feel really tired.
Yeah.
And exhausted.
Definitely.
It seems a bit obvious that, doesn't it? But it can.
Yeah.
Generally, people need a lot more rest when they're suffering emotionally.
Well, it's almost like, again, obviously I'm no expert, so I can't, you know, kind of confirm it, but it's almost like a sudden depression put on yourself, isn't it? I think if anyone who has gone through any kind of depression knows them feelings of wanting to be alone, wanting to shut off kind of thing. It's almost like a sudden thing like that when you lose somebody that close to you, or you've experienced that kind of loss or grief.
Yeah.
That's kind of one way I look at it anyway. It's almost kind of, that sudden realisation that person's gone. And it's, again, it's just so difficult. It's, you know, you have so much sympathy for anybody going through it at that time, because there is no explanation for how you should feel.
Yeah.
There's no, you know, there's no reason that you should feel fine. There's no reason that you shouldn't feel fine. You know, there's definitely people that go through some kind of bereavement, and the way they almost go through it is they act like nothing's changed. So, you know, any way that people navigate it is You know, you can't.
It's going to be so varied, isn't
exactly,
it?
and you can't tell them that that's wrong, because it's what's best for them.
Yeah, yeah. But what I would say is just watch out for kind of like the danger signs. So one of the things that humans like to do is avoid things, especially painful things. That can start off by something really not that difficult, like just withdrawing or reading, or I know it sounds silly, but reading, watching television, things like that, right? In the long term, not really going to have a bad effect on you.
No.
But the longer you avoid that pain, the more likely it is that the things that you're doing to avoid it will lose their power.
Yep.
So you'll then need to start looking for something else, so to get your mind off of it, to avoid it.
Yeah.
And that's where people fall into the trap of alcohol and drugs and dangerous things.
I think, yeah, sometimes it is best just to acknowledge the pain that you're going through.
Yeah.
And, you know, the emotions, they can overwhelm you. And sometimes you've just got to let it out. You know, you can't bottle it up, and, you know, it's difficult because some people want to have that hard exterior and make it seem like they are fine when they're not, and they don't want to show those emotions. But I think sometimes, you know, and that is really the point. If it is bereavement, that is something, that is the point of a funeral, isn't it? I mean, it's obviously to celebrate life, but it's also to share with everybody the feelings that you're going through, and to you know, acknowledge that person and what they've done for you throughout their life.
Other things that affect the way that people grieve is how a person has died. If somebody has been ill for a long time, and they have suffered, so you know, you've had to endure their suffering, a person may start to think that it may be best when it happens, and then they can have a feeling of guilt when it does.
Yeah.
This is why it's so very important to talk through it, because you can convince yourself that somehow you willed that person to pass on. The other thing is when tragic deaths happen, and people are not prepared. I mean, I'm not sure you can ever really prepare for the loss of a loved one. We all know we're limited, but when, say, a child dies or somebody dies under very instant circumstances, it's going to have an impact on how people grieve. It's going to be individual, unique, you know. And I actually think that because we are all individual and unique and so complex and complicated, this is why we should open up the platform and have this difficult conversation about death and loss.
Yeah, it's not something that people want to talk about necessarily, but sometimes it is good to have that conversation.
Yeah.
It's the same, you know, it's almost the same as what it was like with mental health. You know, people don't want to have the conversation, but having that conversation allows understanding, and it opens you up to different forms of coping, almost, if you understand what I mean. It kind of gives you an outside perspective of what you're going through, if you are going through it. So it's definitely something that if maybe you do feel a bit closed off and you do want to have a conversation about it, we welcome you to either have a conversation with us or have a conversation with other, your friends, your family, just to share kind of the things that you might have gone through in the past or what you might be going through right now. And
there's no time limit on how long you can mourn somebody. You know, somebody who has died 20 years ago, people can still be mourning.
Of course. And
it can still be helpful to reminisce about the good times or, the funny things that person done. You don't want to forget people.
No.
None of us do. They kind of, in a way, they live on that way through us, and we pass on. I was talking to somebody yesterday who had never met somebody, but almost that she spoke as if she knew that person because of what had been passed on to her. So it's almost like a legacy then, isn't it? Yeah,
I think one thing that really does help, I mean, it obviously doesn't help, losing anybody is very difficult, but one thing that is a nice way of looking or understanding it is the fact that all of us throughout our lifetime are going to go through it. Every single person on this earth will experience some kind of bereavement at some point, and it's nice to know that anyone you speak to is going to have an understanding of pretty much what you're going through. You know, maybe they haven't experienced it at that point, but they will do at some point in their life. And you know, it's the horrible fact of life that we will all go through it. Yeah. But it's almost comforting to know that anyone I speak to is going to have an understanding of what I am going through at that point.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you mentioned you did mention about faith before. What I would say is somebody with faith, or someone even come into faith, because that often happens when somebody dies. People start to think more about faith. For them, it's not the end.
No.
But for somebody without a faith, it is. And I'm not sure, you know, I'm not saying that one's what I am actually. Because
I mean, it's more, I guess, in a way, it's comforting to know that it isn't the end.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the opposite can happen as well. You know, people who have got a faith, they lose somebody and they start to question that faith.
Yeah.
Because they think, like, why has God taken this person away from me? And it is something that obviously I don't look forward to going through, but I know it will question you 100%. You'll question your faith at points. But it's something, again, I think it's you know, if God intends you to go through that, then you will, and it's something you will have to get through. But you've always got Him by your side, and you've also got your community, you've got your friends, you've got your family by your side, and it's something that will be very difficult to get through, but it's almost maybe there to, I don't know, maybe it's something we all have to go through in life to you know, build up maybe a little bit of resilience, or you know, just acknowledge what it is like to lose that person.
Yeah, I mean, we can't escape it forever.
No.
But what I would say is there have been many a person who has been on the edge of faith, and something like a big loss, something that they can't quite understand. Again, you know, anger. Why has this happened to me? If there's a God, why would He let people suffer?
Exactly.
You know? If you don't go and talk to somebody, a faith leader, about it, then you're making the decision to turn away from God. Who can offer you the hope that you and understanding that you actually do need. So that's what I want to say about that, because I nearly went down a rocky path there.
I think for some people, you know, I mean, I know for myself, in terms of my own faith, it's, you know, it's for them to find. Yeah. You know, I do understand what you're saying in terms of, you know, speaking to a faith leader, but I think for some people, they navigate it and they find their way to God on their own. It's, you know, it's different people, it's a different way, but you know, it could be through bereavement, through any kind of loss. It might not even be through through losing a loved one. It could be from another kind of loss that you, you know, that you maybe find your way to God. But again, obviously, just the best way to do it, you know, again, everybody goes through it their own way, and it's just acknowledging that whatever they're going through, you know, you're there for them, no matter what they go through, no matter what way they need to navigate it.
Yes, exactly. It's an acceptance that everybody's going to be different, and it may not be the way that you would go about things, but it's the way that they need to, isn't it? So I think we'll wrap it up there. Again, if you need to talk to anybody, please do reach out.
Yes.
Faith or no faith, we're here to listen, aren't we?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you know, if you want to ever just come in and have a conversation, even if you know, maybe you want to come in and just distract yourself, it's not always, you know, again, the easiest thing to talk about, you know, but we're here at St. Sed's on Bridgewater Drive. You've obviously got St. Peter's as well as St. Stephen's as well, where there's people there most days. You've got the garden as well. You know, there's plenty of people within our community that would be welcoming to discuss this this difficult conversation. But you know, we are happy to help any way we can.
But I would say it's very strange, you know, because it does affect everybody, how difficult it is sometimes to talk to.
Of course, yeah. No, it is so difficult. It's obviously easy talking about it here now, whilst we're maybe not going through it directly at this moment. But when it comes to it, it really can be something difficult, and it might be something you don't want to discuss. But sometimes, if you are feeling those effects of bereavement, and in terms of that grief, and you are maybe feeling a little bit depressed, sometimes it's good to have that conversation with somebody.
Yeah. Okay, should we line up what we're actually doing here at St. Seth's?
Yeah, so we have a lot planned for the next couple of months. We have a new life skills. I'm sure you've seen it over our social media pages, but we've got a life skills class that's going to be here at St. Seth's. I have put this on social media. You can't really see it, but basically it's just going to be a life skills. There's going to be loads of different kind of lessons. Obviously, parts of it will be focused around the cost of living and how that's kind of becoming astronomical, and how we can maybe manage that. Obviously, it will be difficult, but we will. Again, we've got a team here that we're going to really try and work together and help you with different forms of life skills that you might need.
Well, I dare say that money is also a difficult subject for some people.
Yes, it definitely is. Yeah.
But it's one that really we all need to kind of think about.
Yeah.
Especially budgeting, cutting back.
Of course. So yeah, we are teaming up with Christians Against Poverty to put on this course. So again, if you are interested, please contact us. Again, the details
it does
are still
actually
on there.
Start tomorrow.
It
starts tomorrow. It's 6 weeks. If you miss it tomorrow, you can come to the next week.
Of course, yeah. There's no. If you do miss a week, it's not a problem. But yeah, tomorrow is the first session, 2 till 4 p.m. We will be here again, helping run that course. So yeah, we look forward to if you do want to. I think it will be something for all of us actually as well.
I'm sure we'll all get.
I think we'll learn some new things.
Tips.
So it's that's one thing going on. We obviously still have Oasis that's on every Wednesday.
Yeah, every Wednesday. So that's 1 till 3.
So yeah, we've got that. What else have we got?
So just to add on to Oasis, not only is it a cafe, but it also we do benefit from having a contact with the local councillors and with the local council. So if people need signposting or help with their needs, we can actually help because we've got that kind of connection. We obviously 213 has the community fridge as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we're quite happy to help out with that. The studio is back, and we will be back every week now.
Yes, we hope to be back every week, unless there's some unforeseen circumstance that stops us from being here. We hopefully will be with you every week. I think 1:30 on a Thursday is still where we're going.
It is. It might change in the future, but obviously. In the half term, because parents will start thinking about this now, we're going to have an autumnal family fun time at Mendip Gardens. So I'll be there, and it's 12 till 3 on the 27th of October. We will put some information up about it. It will be for all of the families, so all ages and children. There'll be fun and games, there'll be crafts and food and hot drinks. So it's worth checking out if you want something fun and free.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I mean, we also have our book club here, which is on the first Monday of every month. So we would love to see some more faces there. What we do is basically each month we'll kind of agree on a book that we'll read. If you are reading your own books, though, we would love to discuss those as well. So if you are interested in reading and you'd like to maybe get together and read some books together, then feel free to come down on a Monday. That's around 5:30, isn't it?
Yeah, 5:30.
We've also got different. Obviously our coffee house is always open. Well, not always, but have a look on social media about the timetable for that. We have the Raindrops Toddler Group. That's also at St. Peter's.
The Raindrops is tomorrow morning, 9:30.
Oh, that one's...
It's here, 2:11.
But then you have Puddle Ducks as well, isn't it?
Puddle Ducks is at St. Peter's.
So there's so much going on around live streams. So again, if you are interested in any of it, obviously, please look on our social media pages. come in and speak to us about it. You know, we have all the information that you'll need if there is anything that you are interested in. And yeah, you know, we look forward to maybe seeing you. Obviously, going into the winter months now. Well, I guess autumn first, but kind of getting there. It's getting colder, isn't it? So yeah, we've got some stuff going on throughout October. I think we've got like the light party kind of thing that happens at the end. Don't
Yeah, I think we've got so much that I struggle to remember it all.
Of course, yeah.
So I think really check out Facebook, subscribe to the newsletter, and you'll be well informed.
Yes.
And of course, next time we'll announce more stuff.
Yeah. I'm sure there's things we're probably forgetting that we will.
I'm sure. So apologies to 213 and St Peter's if we've missed something.
If we've forgot anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's everything.
I think that's all for now. I mean, it's good to be back, and I hope that you found this helpful and hopefully interesting, and it'll be something new next week as well.
Yeah. One thing I would say finally is if you are interested at all in getting involved within the studio, then please do contact us. If there's anything you want us to discuss, again, we'd be happy to look at that as well. So please, if there is anything, just contact us through our social media pages, through any of those, by the phone number or the email, or just come in and talk to us, because we're happy to have that conversation and just see if there's anything you want to discuss or if you want to get involved yourself.
Yeah, very good.
Right.
Yeah, always good to have new voices as well.
Of course, yeah. But thank you for tuning in today. Again, we look forward to seeing you next week. And again, just stay tuned over our social media pages. I'm sure you'll see a lot from us over this next week as well.
I'm sure.
All right. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.